in both, it's just a name we made up. You join barred by word, KGV by word, and store the input and output. And then you'll wind up and it'll say, well, I found abide twice in Shakespeare and once in the Bible. I found Abraham twice in Shakespeare and 111 times in the Bible. And you can do that sort of a thing.
It's W is a word character, so alphanumeric and underscore, not white space. I was wrong.
What is it?
It's a word character, so it's either alphanumeric or an underscore, and then plus means one or more of the preceding, so it means a string of letters or numbers or underscore. It basically just means a word. W plus.
Word matches. So you're saying filter it by word matches where a word match is defined as
Alphanumeric characters or underscores of multiple. So it's just saying there's not a space or like a blank space or a carriage return or something. It's just words.
Okay.
But based off of that, if it was a single letter word, it would toss it out then.
No. A plus sign is one or more.
Oh.
Regex is hard. I don't like it. Regex? Regular expressions.
So then here's another example of doing a nested operation with a split. So you load some data, you just split it into two families, negative if it's less than 0, positive. So now you've got two sets, one called negative, one called positive, and then you can go for each negative, do something, or for each positive, do something. This video is pretty good. The guy talks pretty fast, so if you try watching it, you got to keep clicking stop and stop and stop and think what he says. Pig is not a declarative language. It is a data flow language, is why it's sort of hard to get my arms around it. There's an operation here called flatten, and it gets rid of bag nesting. We'll see an example of that. Tokenize returns a new bag for each input. And that's what we just used in a minute. We've seen for each. You can have user-defined functions. Okay, so all I really wanted you to get out of that is kind of like, what are we trying to do? What is the flavor of what you can do? What is the kind of language like? And get this idea that you're taking data through multiple stages and saving it and then using the various stages later on. We're going to go through and do about 3 or 4 examples, and then I hope we'll feel at least confident that you know what we're trying to do and how it works, even if we aren't masters at it. This is no longer true about where it's installed, because this referred to last year's disk. It's not installed. And we'll start with this word count tutorial, and it's exactly the same Java one. I just want to look and see if this cheat sheet is the same cheat sheet that I just opened before. I think it is, because it's that mortar site. Yeah, it's the same one that we already saw. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, I think I'll go back up to my website, and I'm going to go through this pig text, which has the instructions, and I don't think I actually want to do it right now. I want to walk through it and make sure you understand what it's doing. And then either A, you're going to see a problem with it, or I'll figure it out tonight or tomorrow night, and we'll come in and start from that point the next time. Again, the problem I have is everything's working. I start the pig job up, and it tries to write a log file, and it says I don't have permissions to write the log file, which is, so obviously I've got it installed in such a way in a directory that it's not allowed to write in its own directory. So any good Unix person should be able to figure that out, right? So you can open that up or not. I'm going to open up my local copy, which I have right here.
I don't think it's.
Hmm?
Mine's just a panda spinning his wheels. It's not opening.
What's happening?
A panda is unicycling.
Oh, you're trying to open that text file there? Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand that. It's almost like
You have to
there's
download
the
it.
campus website, and if they bought one license for Microsoft products, and when it wants to open a doc, it makes a call to that, and if 6 people try to open a document at the same time, they all get stacked up. It's the behavior of that thing is crazy.
Well, I don't think it comes like text files, new Word and.
Oh, yeah, it may be that.
It might be so if I just download it, then I'll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For text files, it just spins indefinitely.
Okay,
Or it may be because it's a Linux file and it's TXT instead of TEXT. Maybe if I had named it TXT.
No, it worked. I just have to download it.
So I started with this article on how to set it up. And I started with this distribution, which I downloaded. And that's the thing that's sitting up on my Google Drive. All right. So you wind up, either you can download it from there or you can download it from my site. And you wind up with this pig tarball. Okay. And then I'm still in BC user, so I started up the file manager with sudo so that I could write into other people's directories. This is probably where I went wrong right there, because that probably let me do things that it would have told me I couldn't, and I would have fixed it before I did it, but anyhow. So then I copied it over to user local share, and I extracted it there. And then I wanted to add pay to our path, so I went to your bash. Well, notice that I switched user here. At this point, I switched to HD user, because we're going to be running over in the Hadoop directory. So then I went to the HD user's bash file, and I added this line. And this seems to work, because I can type pig from pretty much any place in it, and it'll tell me the version, and it sort of works. Okay. And then after putting that in the file, I also executed it so that it was already in effect. I could have reran the bash file, or you could just execute this. You won't ever have to do that again after you boot, because every time you log in, it'll do it. Okay. So now we can run a pig job, because we have it installed and it's there. So again, as HD user, go over your Hadoop folder, and you don't have to be in the bin file. Start Hadoop by typing in start all in Hadoop range. And then and again, this is where I may have a problem. I created a folder in user local Hadoop called pig word count. And that's where I intend to run my pig job out of. And then I created a script in that directory called wordcount.pig. Anytime you create a script that you want pig to run, you name it pig. And then here's the script. It's going to load some input text file, and that's that same thing we just saw. For every every row of data it finds there, it's going to create a whole bunch of those silly tokens, and then it's going to group them by the word, and then it's going to count them, and then it's going to write the output as word count. Actually, it's going to be in a directory called word count /star, and it'll probably put 2 files out there, just like the Java did. And then what I did is I went over and I grabbed one of the ebooks that we downloaded for our Word. I only grabbed one, I didn't grab 3. So I went over to Home, BC User, Temp, eBooks, dragged that over, and I stuck it into the pig folder, and I renamed it input.txt. Oh, that may be the problem right there. I may not that may have the permissions of BC user because I stole it from BC user. Maybe if I do change mod on that, my problem will go away. Because this is the file that it's refusing to read. Anyhow, you open up a terminal window in that pig folder, and then you make a new DFS directory for the input. So you say Hadoop DFS make directory input. So you have, so that Hadoop can find the file, you make that directory. And then I went into, well, if I wasn't already, I'm into that directory. And then I copy my text file from wherever I put it into Hadoop. And you do that with Hadoop DFS copy from local, input.txt, into the Hadoop file system, input.txt. And that works because I can do a dir and I can see it in there. Well, I did a dir on the directory. I'm not sure I did a dir on the text file. And then to run the pig job, you just say pig-x, and x says what environment are you running it in? Are you running it local or are you running it with Hadoop? And we're saying MapReduce, so we're running it with Hadoop. And then the name of the script. So it's similar to running the JavaScript. You put the text file that you want it to read into a known directory, which is called out in the script. You tell pig to execute its script, it executes that script, and then it says, I'm sorry, I can't read this log file. I can't write that log file. So that's where my problem is right now. So, unless somebody saw something obvious.
Could it be that your word count folder doesn't have write privileges? Or, I also saw, I don't know if it was a typo in your text, but you have like the single quotes and
The startup is misspelled.
if you go to the pig script.
You want to see the pig script?
Yeah. So that last line, store D into word count. So that quote and semicolon look weird to me. I think the /* should be inside the quote and semicolon. No, I don't know.
I copied this from that website that
Oh.
I showed you, so, but you know, the websites are wrong. Anyhow, I guess what I'd like you to do is, if you do your homework on one system and you run in class on another system, at least get that pig folder down so that at the beginning of the next class, we can just install it and run this job, right? And I will have figured out what my problem is before then, so that we won't have to wait for you to have the long download. And then we have about 3 examples we're going to go through. And then you'll have to write one where you will read in the 450 orders, and then you can group it by store, or you can group it by salesperson, or you can group it by order, the DVD, and do some kind of a count. And then we'll say, okay, we did it. All right? So that's all I'm going to do, other than stand here and try to see if I can get this miserable thing to run.